Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blue. Welcome to CastNauts. Today we're going to be looking at another replay sent in from the Rumble team. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate this. I know it kind of sounds like I'm skimming over it, but I've had to say it for the past like four episodes now, so I'm kind of getting in the rhythm of it. Today we're going to be looking at the next match between Z-Pan Disciples and Patch 2.7. Today it's on AI Station 205, I believe. It's a 4-4. I do often get those two confused. And let's take a look at what everybody's playing when they drop. Starting off with taunts, that's good sportsmanship. Or bad sportsmanship. I'm not sure. I'm going to keep current soldier up today, just for like We're playing for red team today in patch 2.7. Pushkin playing Leon, Jambo playing Jimmy, and Badass Ketchup playing Deadlift. Newcomer today for the matches with a fabulous visual bug. Oh, unfortunately, it did have to fix itself. Shiz playing Vinny. Body Hunter PT playing Sentry, and Manager now working back to get a bit more solar to playing Penny. Now, the very obvious start for AI Station 205, I'm going to say 205, I actually can't remember to be honest, is to try and get to the jungle and get a bit of early XP going on from these creeps early on. Unfortunately, that also means that the opening team fight that ensues after it is going to be quite high risk, high reward, as if you stay in it, you're not going to have a lot of creeps. You're often most not going to have the creeps to heal you up, leading these health packs to go down, and even leading these health packs to go down. Now, blue team has a very interesting combo where they're going to be very heavy on the initiations, very early and very aggressively. Where Penny starting off with Sentient Rock, that's going to be huge for a team if they can actually land an initiation from the Sentry with the Black Hole. Where he's also taking Knife Vision Skywatch, which is just going to let him get in there, and just like right there, as we saw, let's have a quick look back here. Sentry charging with the Black Hole, not even using the Knife Vision Skywatch effect, and then turning two of them in, followed by just the sheer amount of silence that's going to be coming out from the blue team via Vinny and Penny, with Sentient Rock and an Antique Machine Gun. So what does red team need to do to fight this? Well, they need to make sure that Sentry isn't going to be around, well, not even Sentry going to be around, obviously about around, but I'm more so in way of, they need to make sure that if they're willing to initiate into a fight, they need to make sure that Sentry isn't going to be ready with a Black Hole and the other two members of the blue team ready with their cooldowns ready for the sheer amount of silence they were spit out. Leon starting with Silence Ton and a bit of regen, that's going to be really effective for him early game, as it's going to allow him to poke more safely with his tongue, and it's also going to allow his team to pick out targets that they otherwise won't be able to get with the virtue of Silence Tongue. So, for example, picking out Vinny quite early without him being able to dash away, that's going to be really effective for his team. Jimmy building a bit of sustain early, he wants to be able to get to his late game, and Jimmy's late game is very tank heavy at the current moment, so that's going to be very useful for him. I believe it is anyway, I'm not actually sure 100%. Deadlift taking a bit of damage, the consistency damage upgrade, as I'm going to call it for the remainder of this, where he needs to hit more. The more he hits a nut, the more damage his AA does, and I really think this is a mistake on his part, as it's a very expensive damage upgrade. But I do think taking straight up damage, if you wanted to go down the damage route, I do believe taking straight up more damage, like that Iron Dumbbell, I believe it's called. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Yeah, taking Iron Dumbbell is over the consistency damage upgrade, but I think it's going to be more effective for him, as he's fighting very aerial knots in the form of Penny and Vinny, who are going to be very hard to reliably hit, especially when you factor in the self-knockback from Deadlift's charge, which is going to be one of his main ways of actually closing the gap between him and these knots. Now, you can argue it's more so for a sense for more of a win harder upgrade, I guess you could say, in this event, where if you pull someone in, or if Leon pulls someone in, or Jimmy charges someone back, it could, help him actually land these shots a bit better. But of course, you still have to run into the issue where a lot of these knots do have their own way of escaping these situations, silence or not, to be honest, just via mobility. They are making up Electrifier, and that's going to be really effective for his team when they actually does come when push comes to shove, and Leon is trying to get these early game ganks, especially on the Vinny and Penny. Pull someone in their silence, so they're most likely not going to have their skills to immediately bail out. And if red team is ready, they can actually capitalize on the fact that they'll be silenced and slowed, making it for a very easy, effective kill. But we'll see if that plays out for them. Penny picking up a bit of damage via Starstorm Statue. That's going to be really effective for her early game, especially with Sentient Rock combined with the Black Holes from Sentry, which is just going to help her out a lot. Vinny picking up River Mask, and that's going to be really interesting to see, as there are a couple of ways you can play around this. If anything, you could just put it on a Droid Wave and then go off and have a team fight somewhere. He's fully healed, or even just in the middle of a fight, which is going to be really effective for seeing, dashing Cloud, and then suddenly you're flying around, you're regenerating health, the enemy team is blinded and silenced, and even more so, it's very possible they'll be on a Black Hole, if anything else, which is going to be the really blue team's most effective way of setting up fights, is with Sentry going in first with the Black Hole, or baiting somebody out in with a Black Hole, and then Penny and Vinny just collapsing on them with their sheer amount of damage and silences. Penny hopefully first, so she can get the added amp damage on everything before Vinny uses his dash in, which is also going to do a lot of damage. What does Red Team really need to be doing right now? Well, they really need to be playing very safe. They need to make sure that this isn't happening, to be honest. You know, they need to make sure that if they are willing to push out into the lane, you know, try and actually regain lane control, which Blue Team is going to have in Miles and Stems for a while until Red Team really get in there. They need to make sure that it's safe to do so and that Sentry isn't lying in wait with the Black Hole setting up for his team. Sentry picking up ringtones for death. That's just gonna make his initiations even more easier with Knife and Spy Watch. A very popular Sentry strategy is to use the effective Knife and Spy Watch to rush your opponent, and then use that opportunity, because, you know, who's going to expect a Sentry to go at 1,000 miles an hour? Hell, even picking up boots in that situation, not mandatory to actually make the strategy work, but it would help for Sentry to rush somebody, or hell, even start up here, drop down, especially on this map, where, you know, you're gonna be traversing this area a lot. You know, you drop down, boom, suddenly you got to silence someone, and that sets up the initiation for your team without the use of them wasting one of their silences. So what Red Team really needs to be doing is more playing safe. What Blue Team needs to be doing is getting very pushy with their Black Holes. You know, they need to make sure that Sentry is ready with the Black Holes. They need to make sure that the 2 Assassin Bursts are going to be ready. You know, basically, Sentry is going to be the ace in the hole right now. He's going to be ready. He needs to be ready with his team to dive on someone. You know, and spot when they're not in the actual area of time frame to. Yeah, sorry, that was a horrible sentence. But when they're not ready to get in, they need to make sure that they're clearing the lanes and keeping constant live droids heading towards the enemy turret, and making sure that the Red Team cannot regain control of the area. Leon using his Electrifier right there. Let's have a quick look back. Leon getting, unfortunately, engaged, slowing down the Penny just enough for him to barely escape while his teammates catch up. I'm not sure why he's risking coming back in, to be honest. He really might want to consider backing off a bit. If anything, clearing these droids, or hell, even backing up. But let's have a quick look at this. Now, this is what I was talking about, where Deadlift and Jimmy trying to bat these people back. Sentry charging out the Black Hole, and then the 2 Assassins just collapsing on them. Let's look at this one more time. Sentry charging the Black Hole a lot of time, using his speed to get ahead of everyone, setting up for his team. Penny getting ready after just clearing the droid, getting ready to gank, and then along with Vinny, just collapsing directly on the Black Hole. And that's really what Blue Team's strengths are going to be during this match, is them having the sheer amount of power and initiation that's going to really help them out in the early game, and possibly, you know, get them to their late games where they're going to be more powerful. This is really a battle of I would say rushing, but that's not really the case. It's more a case of Blue Team trying to farm the enemy to a state where one Black Hole is probably enough to kill anybody on their team. And of course it already is in most situations. But what Blue Team really wants to strive for is getting to a place where they can do that consistently and not have to wait for the time to present itself, where they can make the moment to present themselves, if that makes sense. Vinny picking up back a goldfish, and we see here he does not have the current solar triggering. Instead, he opted to get boots, and that's a very interesting but very risky strategy, where he's banking on the fact of Sentry setting up these really effective Black Holes that are going to net his team kills and getting him the solar he needs to trigger back of goldfish. It's a very risky strategy for his team to be working off, but we'll see if it works out for him. Leon picking up backstab, and to be honest, I do think it's a mistake in this situation. Once again, it's the same reason of the consistency damage upgrade on Deadlift. These are very mobile nods, bar Sentry. Sentry, of course, that's somebody you want to be taking out in fights. But that's still not going to say it's going to be easy to take out in fights. That Sentry is also very mobile, especially with the added effect of Knife and Spy Watch, being able to have it used defensively. And as we saw right here, another very excellent Black Hole by their Sentry, setting it up just for his team, keeping it charged, and then Blue Team just ready to collapse on it. And unfortunately for Leon here, not actually backing up. I'm not sure what was going through his head here, but he decided to not take the opportunity to run back, especially when he knew Vinny didn't use the dash, as he was also caught in there with poor Jimmy there. So unfortunately for Leon, it was a slight misplay on his part that he really should have considered going back in that situation. Going back further would have, there was no possible way for Vinny to, flank him around if he just kept running to get to a safe place. Hell, even teleporting would have taken the time to get back there. Unfortunately, Jimmy picking up Danger Pin, that's going to be really excellent poke at this point in the game, and it's also going to really help him, get these very nice pins off if he does get an opportunity to pin. That's going to be really helpful. And here showing right here, Deadlift's very impeccable sudden burst. Vinny, like he's very cocky at him, but boom, suddenly the Deadlift's burst is just ready for it. You know, the deadlift is ready, and unfortunately for Sentry back here, getting a bit too cozy with his current position of the black hole. You know, he's ready, he's coming up to try and save the Vinny, but unfortunately, going down, really a mistake. Staying in, really a mistake. Red team, they know that Sentry is a very prime threat, and staying in is not the smartest idea. Penny is only really there as a backing support for the black holes, but it's all really relying on the black holes to do most of the damage. And unfortunately for Sentry, Red team had caught on to that. Now picking up microfilm, this is going to be really effective for Sentry because it's going to allow him to even initiate more safer and use Night Vision Spy Watch, which again as a very viable escape tactic, where if you're running away, you can use it to get that boost of speed. And now comboed with microfilm, might see a bit of tank out of Sentry later. I'm not sure. You know, maybe getting a bit of pills. I believe Sentry does get barrier max, we're seeing that as well, blowing the black hole unfortunately, but it's understandable as to why he would, just to regain the charge and have another option to use Night Vision Spy Watch when it really matters. Deadlift picking up the weakening effect. So he's going for a very supportive tank build, which is going to be really effective for him, as Jimmy is already building into the tank department with a little bit of pills and of course nano repair bots quite early on. Unfortunately for Leon, getting a bit too close for comfort in this situation. He did not take into account the soldier. The soldier? Oh my god, what am I? Where's my mind today? I apologize. The Sentry and Vinny up top, like fighting Deadlift, seeing Deadlift come on, he really should have made the informed decision to not go in. If anything, he really should have came up to. If anything, if there was ever a situation where this Leon would go, if anything, it would be more up to try and help out his team. Fighting this Penny and 1v1 is not going to be the effective strategy. As you can see, she has the damage ready, and she also has now the range advantage on him with Spider Collector Badge. And taking Greyman Group is going to be really effective for her as well. It's going to allow her to actually keep her cooldowns in check. You know, it's gonna allow her to really keep consistently getting Spider Collector Badge. You know, and this can stem off into more things. This can stem off into really good damage from her gun with the use of Cookie Monster Badge, or hell, even as a really nice mobility, which I suspect she will end up going just to keep up with the Sentry. And always be ready in the position. That was also a beautiful visual, but can we just go back and witness this again from the Jimmy's perspective, where he charges and takes the bounce pad? It's just a very wonderful thing to see. Jimmy now picking up a bit of flip arm add-on. You know, he wants to get a bit of damage out there. He wants to make sure that he's actually a threat in team fight and not just a hulking, walking baby mech. And that's really what he needs to be doing in this situation. He really needs to make sure that he is an always constant threat, while Leon is always the constant hidden threat that you're not going to be thinking about because there's a giant baby in your face. You know, it makes sense. Leon now picking up a bit of sharp edge razors, and I really think this is a mistake on his part. Like, to be honest, taking the backstab this early and then only now getting sharp edge razors, I really think it's not going to be that effective for him in this situation. Once again, as I said, these are all very mobile, not even Sentry to some degree, especially with Night Vision Spy Watch. So trying to build for your AA is not going to be the most effective strategy. Building for your initiation on Tongue might be a slightly more effective strategy. Taking out their weaklings, especially the Vinny, who's going to be very, very hard to lock down without the use of silence. And Leon being the only source of silence on the team, it's really his job to really set up his initiations. Picking up Baby Karari Mammoth is a good decision though, as it's going to help against the sheer amount of silence coming out and of course the black hole. Sentry now picking up not so serious tank. That's going to increase his damage of his AA. If anything, it's just going to make his kills more consistent. And of course, a very nice kill on the blue team's part. Unfortunately for the Jimmy, getting a bit too close. I'm not really sure why. He decided to charge in after hearing and possibly even seeing. Let's have a quick look here. So this is about, I don't know, you say that's about in-game. So he sees the Sentry charging up, and then takes the opportunity to go in. If anything, like just going back, letting the turret be a necessary casualty, because at this point there's only going to be Deadlift and Leon ready to defend the base, while poor old Jimmy is still going to be dropping in. So unfortunately, that was really another positional misplay on the red team's part. Deadlift now picking up more damage. Worn out kettlebell. That was the damage upgrade. Sorry, not iron dumbbell. I'm not sure where I got that from. No, he wants to actually keep up with the threat, and I don't think this is really the right decision in this situation. I really think maybe taking a bit of health on the shield might be slightly work out better for him, and it is going to be his really big asset to the team at this point in the game, especially with how much damage is actually coming out. If you don't know, Deadlift shield does take over damage, where if it has exactly 1 health left, just for an example, and you deal damage, and he takes damage equal to more than 1 or more, the shield will break, but it will not take the damage out of his health. It will just take that out of the shield. Penny now picking up Cookie Monster Badge, so she's going for a very hyper A build. Also now picking up Bug Jars, which is going to be really effective for her initiations with Sentry. And unfortunately for Sentry, this looks like it's going to be ended up. But Vinny coming in with the really amazing body blocking on his part, but it might be too much for him. Luckily, let's just have a quick look back here. Missing the dash is really huge for Vinny to actually live. Now Sentry coming back in with the black hole to save the Vinny's life, and that's really where that initiation shined for the Vinny. You know, he blocks off deadlift, keeping him at bay while Sentry gets away, gets some health, comes back down, and then they both escape scot-free. Thinking of the second stage of Not So Serious, like a microfilm is going to be really effective for Sentry zoning and just initiation potential. Vinny now keeping the effect of Goldfish, picking up Chrome Fall and Red Bandana. Red Bandana especially is going to be really effective for these initiations with Sentry's Black Hole. If you don't know, it is a weakening effect on Cloud for anything that enters. So that's going to be really useful for these more risky initiations at low health that the blue team can now take advantage of because of Red Bandana. At this point in the game, I do think that red team might want to consider making sure that they have enough single target damage to really win these team fights. But unfortunately, they just don't. Leon building into backstab, Electrifier, backstab, and Sharp Edge Wedges really did not do his team any favors. Building into Ton a bit earlier might have been the right decision. Maxing out Cheese and Garlic Mins incredibly early is always a really effective strategy. Maybe taking Chun Stretcher and maybe just getting, you know, Spike Tom Piercing a bit earlier. Of course, there's always, you know, Morning Star Piercing. Jimmy, unfortunately, not really getting up to his tanky status that he really needs to. He was on the right track at the start. Definitely getting danger pins, of course, is not. It would have been effective if he got more. He was able to go in a bit more, but unfortunately, going in was mostly a death sentence, especially against his Sentry, who was really lying in wait with his Vinny and Penny, very much ready to take out any mistakes that the red team might have made. All in all, I do think that there was also obviously some positional mistakes with the red team in general throughout the entire match, especially the one with the Leon over here and the Jimmy down here. But of course, there was always the times where, of course, the team fight that happened up here. I know the victory screen is in the way, but I apologize. The team fight that happened up here, you know, where they got the double on the Jimmy and the deadlift. Like, that was huge for the red team. That really gave them the spiral they needed to get going with their build, and then eventually it turned into this monstrosity of an initiation mess for the red team. And unfortunately, it was just an issue with the red team's positionals, to be honest. Going in this hard early when your Leon isn't ready build-wise is not really the smartest decision. But of course, the Leon not actively building items that are going to help him in the initiation front as an unfortunate state of affairs. Picking up Cheese and Garlic Mints to start, that's a good, up until about here, it was a good start. But not maxing out Cheese and Garlic Mints really limited his factor in team fights, unfortunately. I've been Blue. Thanks for watching this episode of CastNauts. See you guys. Thanks for watching. Oh, no, wait, there's actually more to this. I always forget this. Thanks for watching, and if you have any replays that you'd like to send to the show to be, you know, shown on the show, please use the email address down below. Now I've been Blue. Thanks for watching.